Good morning, Unity of Charlotte. Welcome. It is our mission to nurture a deep and mature experience of God through the practice of unity principles. Simply put, we are here to love, grow, and serve. I'm Reverend Pat Dre, and I'm delighted that you're with us today. Let's start today's service by joining together in a statement of oneness, and that will lead us to our prayer. There is one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God, the good omnipotence. We'll start today with the word of the day. Divine strength invigorates my body and quickens my mind. If I feel my energy waning during the time of vigorous physical or mental activity, if my get up and go is got up and gone, I remember these inspiring words from the Prayer of Faith by Hannah Moore Cohouse. God is my strength, unfailing and quick. The strength of God is my strength, and it's more than sufficient to meet my every need. More than toughness or forcefulness, spiritual strength is quiet fortitude rooted in the inexhaustible wellspring of the divine. Today, I release all thought of weakness or impossibility. I feel the power of the divine strength flowing through me, invigorating my body and bringing renewed clarity to my thoughts. The strength of God is my strength. Powerful words for today, for a powerful day. I want to share with you a thought that I had related to one of the principles, the unity principles, and that is action. You see, action is needed because even knowing that God is good and people are good and that our thoughts create our experience, prayer is important, but action is necessary. On this plane, we can do all of the principles, but we must act. And I am reminded of the woman who made such a difference to all of us. And her name is Dr. Katie Carrico. And she was the one who, after decades of being derided, made fun of for her work in biology, made it possible for the vaccines that we have today. And doesn't it give us a little bit of pause today to be reminded that some of the most important things that impact the lives of everyone on the globe depended on somebody keeping their faith and their focus on what was important. And this truly has made a difference worldwide. So we appreciate you, Dr. Katie. Thank you again for joining with us this morning. For those of you who are joining on Zoom, we love having you a little bit before the service and a little bit afterwards to connect and hear what's going on with you. If you or anyone you know is in need of prayer, please use our prayer link at our Unity website and also ask for prayer for you or your loved ones. You can also use the Unity prayer line, silent Unity, any time of the day or night. Just call 800-NOW-PRAY for a personal affirmative prayer. And for our announcements, the Unity Men's Group has two different sessions, one that meets on the second and fourth Wednesdays from 9:30 to 11 here at the church, and then an evening session on the first and third Wednesdays from 7:30 to 8:30 via Zoom. Our affirmative prayer and meditation group meets on Tuesday evenings to set a prayerful energy for the church, for the city, and for the world. It is facilitated by Barbara Rolfe. Our Dialogue as Service is starting a new series, and this is much anticipated on my part. because we are starting a new book, and I am very excited about that. Dialogue as Service is headed by Barbara Rolfe, and this will be on the first Wednesday in June, which is June 1st, I believe, June 1st. And we invite you to join. Again, Wednesday, June 1st from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Thank you. This group starts from a different frame of reference, and we are moving into a very prayerful and thoughtful, as well as engagement in a new series of books. So do please join us. The book club is every third Sunday at 11 a.m. I'm not sure which book is starting now, but Reverend Jim will let us know. And the Course in Miracles meets every Thursday at 9:30 a.m. via Zoom. I'll remind you again that Reverend Robin has a prosperity principle class that is starting on May 11th. It's a 6-week class on Tuesdays from 6:30 to 8 p.m. via Zoom. It will focus on 2 books, Charles Fillmore's book, Prosperity, and Eric Butterworth's book, Spiritual Economics. So those are our announcements today. And I want to welcome Reverend Jim, who is talking today on who do you think you are? Welcome, Reverend Jim.
Thank you. Thank you. Change my view here a little bit. All right. Well, great to see everybody. Let's see if I can switch this screen around. Let's try that. That's better. There we go. Well, it's good to see everybody. And the answer to the mystery of the book club book for the day is it is the book called When Prayers Aren't Answered by John Welshons, a friend of mine from New Jersey. Excellent book. He has written actually several books. One also called about awakening from grief, one of the best books on grief I've heard. Welshons, an interesting author and profoundly spiritual person. So join us if you want. The link will be on the church website on the calendar page for When Prayers Aren't Answered for the book club at 11 o'clock. Meanwhile, we're going to move forward here and consider what we think we are. But before we do that, we'll do a little meditation. I'm going to offer us some meditation music by, let's see, I have to go here to screen share because that'll work much better. I'm going to offer us some meditation music by a very young, by a very young John Aston, who is not quite that young anymore, who's going to share a song called Love, Serve, and Remember. Sounds a lot like the motto for Unity Church, Love, Serve, Grow. So here we go.
Why have you come to earth? Do you remember? Why have you taken birth? Why have you come?
So with that music and those thoughts echoing in our minds, I'll invite us just to softly close our eyes. Allow the seat we're sitting in to support our body. To feel the breath of life that moves in and through not just our body, but our whole being. Feel that breath moving through you now. And to know that as a timeless spiritual being, we are each here for some purpose. We are each here on purpose, or we can be. That our soul, our spirit, the greater part of us, has things it would show us. Things it would maybe have us do. As Pat mentioned, actions it would have us take. It would have us take. Things it would have us remember. Truths. So we follow the breath. Allowing the gentle, natural movement of the breath to help quiet both our human thinking and soften our body. Relax the body. As we take just a few minutes together in the silence to feel the connection with that greater part of our being, with the truth of who we are, in the silence. And as we continue to feel that breath and that life moving through us, through the body, through the mind, through the being, as we continue to sense that greater presence that is with us, of which we are an interwoven and integral part, may we be reminded that we all have purpose today. And perhaps part of our purpose today is to remember and hold in prayer, hold prayerfully or mindfully, friends or loved ones or others who might be resting in our hearts or our minds. So I invite you just to take a moment as we prepare to end this meditation and just consider if there's anybody in your heart or your mind that you need to offer a little silent or gentle prayer for. And just take a moment to do that right now. And send that prayer along with a little bit of love. Knowing that even as the prayers come to mind, the answer is offered by the Creator. And for answered prayer, let us say together in advance, thank you, God. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. So it is. Well, take a moment and kind of come back from that. Get yourself reintegrated with this physical body. Get yourself settled back into the room you're temporarily sitting in. Know that whatever needs to be done through prayer and meditation is being done for you right now. Well, today I'm here to make a personal confession that I am a watcher of people. A watcher of people. Kay and I were in Freedom Park on Friday. It was a beautiful day, and we were walking around, enjoying the scenery and watching the show. Watching the show, all the many people. We saw a wedding party of 4 people dressed in beautiful Indian attire. Oh, gorgeous, gorgeous attire. We saw 4 young women dressed in some type of character attire with sparkly fairy wings and costumes. They were having fun watching us, watching them, taking pictures. We saw people just wandering around. One of the things that I love to do, Kay and I used to do, we would joke. When we were in New York City, which we visited frequently, we used to go to Central Park for at least a picnic if we were there for the day. And people would often say, well, did you go to the Central Park Zoo? And I'd say, well, yes and no. I never actually paid admission to get into the zoo, but I did go to the zoo and we watched everybody and they watched us. Because remember, when we're watching the others, we're part of the show as well. And so that's kind of what I want to talk about today. Each day we get up and like the people I saw at Freedom Park Friday who put on their costumes, we put on a costume. We pick a costume for the day and we put on our costume. Maybe it's a business costume, maybe it's a casual costume, maybe it's going out and working in the yard or jumping in the pool costume, but we put on a costume. And then, and here's the interesting part, not only do we put on a costume, but I think we also put on a mask, a persona for the day. If I'm going to work, I may put on a serious persona, you know, or maybe I put on a get it done persona, or maybe it's my day off and I put on a life is good persona. As I was thinking about that, I looked up the word persona on my phone and learned that persona is a Latin word, and it refers to the masks that actors wore in Greek and Roman plays. You know, we see the pictures of the masks with the smiling face and the frowning face. Apparently they had a series of masks, and because people were distant from the stage, the actors would wear a mask that exaggerated the persona that they were acting out in the scene or in the play. And I thought, wow, we do the same thing, you know, serious mask, sad mask, whatever mask, hopeful mask. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the costumes and the masks and all the things we put on. And I want to ask, is that who we really are? Is that what we are? Because sometimes we get confused and we think that maybe the costume is us. Early in my career, first 2 or 3 jobs actually I had, I worked with delinquent and difficult youth. Kids who'd been in trouble at school, kids who'd been in trouble with juvenile court, kids who had been in trouble at home. And I remember one day there was a young man, a high school student, who I had to visit that day. And I got to visit him at home because once again, he had been suspended from school. And I scheduled to meet with him at 9 o'clock. This was fairly early in my career doing that work. And I hadn't really thought about it, but at 9 o'clock, he was just up. So I arrived and knocked at the door, and he was dressed. He had his clothes on, his, suspended from school home clothes. But he hadn't yet had breakfast, and he wasn't fully awake. And he hadn't put on his tough kid or his I don't care kid mask yet. And it was interesting. So that day I had a conversation with him over at the breakfast table while he ate his cold cereal and milk. And it was the first time that I actually really felt that I got to talk to the young man himself rather than the mask. Maybe you've had that happen with a child or someone or a friend or a neighbor who sometimes seems to have an appearance on, but every now and then you talk to him and it's like, oh, I talked to the person behind the mask. I talked to the person behind the mask. So all these people we see around us, wearing their different costumes and their different masks and their different attitudes, who do they think they're being? Who do we think they are? And are we going to let the masks and the costumes and the appearances confuse us, or even the ones we put on? According to the Bible, this thing of observing and labeling and naming things goes way, way back to the creation stories in Genesis, the ones that were written several hundred years BC. And according to the Adam and Eve story, after God creates Adam, God also creates all these creatures to be helpers for Adam. And God parades all the creatures in front of Adam and asks Adam to name them. And whatever he names them is what they will be called. I want you to think about that spiritually. Whatever we name something, that's what it'll be called. That's what it'll be to us. Pretty true, huh? And then God says to Adam, well, how do you like all these companions I've created for you? I've created all these companions. What do you think? And Adam says something the equivalent of, well, not bad, God, but could you try again? And that supposedly is what leads to the creation of Eve, something created similar to Adam. And once God finally gets it right, creates Eve, Adam says, great, I'm satisfied now. And I'm thinking about that and I'm thinking, wow, that's an interesting story. How often are we satisfied by what someone else makes or even by what we make? So, costumes, personas, things we make, what satisfies us. What do we think all these things are? What do we think we are? Well, it's interesting. I'm going to flip to the Buddhist tradition for a moment. There's a story about a villager who encounters the Buddha walking down the road. And the villager sees this radiant, peaceful being walking down the road. And he's struck by the Buddha's nature, what he appears. And so the man says, what are you? Are you an angel? And the Buddha says, no, I'm not an angel. And the man says, well, are you one of the gods then? And the Buddha says, no, I'm not a god. The man looks at him and says, well, are you a man? And the Buddha says, no, I'm not that either. The man says, well, what are you? And the Buddha simply says, I'm awake. I'm awake, which is what the name Buddha means. I found it interesting in the story that Buddha refuses to identify with himself as a man either. Not that. The question for us is, are we awake enough to see past the costumes and the masks, right? Are we awake enough to see past these ideas of me and you and sense of self to notice what really is there? Our Buddhist friends say that our sense of self, our sense of identity, is built up of a number of things that happen because of our interaction with the physical world. There's actually 5 aggregates or 5 heaps or collections, the Buddha says, that form that sense of me. It starts off with the physical things of this world, buildings, trees, bodies, all the physical things. And then it adds in, we add in for the second part, our sensory experience of them. You know, I look out and I see things, I touch things, I hear, I smell, I taste. Buddhists say we actually have 6 senses. It says we also have mental sensations. I think that's very perceptive. Anyway, so we have things and we have our sensations or our senses of them. And from that, we get the third collection of stuff that begins piling up, which is our perceptions of these things that we see and sense and feel. So we have to sleep on the ground and we notice it's really hard and it feels maybe uncomfortable. There's a perception. So we get to lay down on a mattress or something different. And we say, oh, that feels better. That's soft. Perceptions, right? Perceptions. We eat some salty potato chips and we say, oh, that's great. My perception of salt is that it is wonderful. And then somebody offers us some oversalted mashed potatoes or a glass of salty water and we go, oh, salt, ugh. Or we get it in our eyes. Ugh. So it's always obviously about perception. It's not about the salt itself. So that's our third little heap, our perceptions. And they say that Buddhists say that the fourth heap is what it calls mental formations. I love the title, mental formations. It's what forms inside our heads when we see all these things, all our sensory feedback, our perceptions, our evaluations. Great description. Our heap of preferences and perceptions, the things we like, the things we avoid, the things we crave, the things we fear, right? We build up mental perceptions, mental formations about people and places, some that we've seen and experienced, some that we've just heard about, but we still have mental formations about them in our minds. All these things come together to form the fifth aggregate, which is what the Buddhists call consciousness. Consciousness. It's the sense of self, actually. It's what they're talking about, is the sense of self. All these formations and perceptions and things that fill us. And that's kind of what we think of as me, or I build up a sense of you. Now, while the Buddhists refer to this fifth heap or collection as consciousness, clearly it has little to do with mental or being mentally or spiritually conscious, right? It's really not about being conscious. It's about a consciousness, a perception we're holding in our mind. It has very little to do, it often can have very little to do with the people and the things around us. It's our mental formations. It's a collection of thoughts and things stored up. If we read the writings of the Zen Buddhists, some of them refer to what they call little mind, our conditioned or habitual human thought, right? Versus big mind with no mental formations, mind with no history of perceptions in it. The greater open mind, we might call it Christ mind or God mind, unconditioned mind. Connecting with that unconditioned mind might be thought of as the goal of spiritual work or the goal of meditation, presuming meditation has a goal. Ultimately, who we think we are, that's probably the bigger word, what we think we are, is probably dependent on all those little piled up things within our head. So, take us to another little Eastern story. It's sort of a fable. I don't know how true it is, but there's a story about how you catch a monkey. And according to the stories it's told, you either take a coconut with a small hole in it or a little wooden box with a small hole in it, just big enough for the monkey to get his hand in, and you nail it to a tree. And then you put some really tasty nuts in the little box or the coconut. And eventually the monkeys, who are always looking for food and always squabbling with each other, will find it and they'll reach inside to get the nuts. But when they grab it, the hand makes a fist and they can't get it back out the hole. They pull the hand out the hole, the nuts are still in there, they stick the hand in, but they won't let go of the nuts because monkeys want the nuts. They cling to those things. Don't know if the story's true or not, but it's obviously prevalent enough that the creators of The Simpsons cartoon series had seen that at one point. And so there's an episode in The Simpsons where Homer Simpson, the self-centered dad, is trying to get a Coke out of a vending machine, and he puts his last money in and he hears something go click, but nothing comes out. So he reaches up inside the machine to get the Coke, and he grabs hold of the can. He finally gets a hold of the can, and he gets a hold of it, and his arm gets stuck in the machine. And there he is sitting in the vending area at work with his hand stuck in the machine. And after he's there for a while, he discovers that he's hungry, because Homer's always hungry. And so there's a vending machine beside him with snacks. And so he decides to reach up inside that vending machine and see if he can get a snack out. And he reaches them, and he gets one of the snacks, but he can't get it out. And there is Homer stuck between the two vending machines. Somebody calls the ambulance and the fire department. And this being The Simpsons, they realize that they can't get his arms out, so they're going to just simply have to cut his arms off. And they explain that to Homer, and Homer kind of goes, "Oh, that doesn't sound good, but okay." And then an intelligent person, which is rare on The Simpsons, says, "Mr. Simpson, are you holding on to the things inside the machine?" And Homer says, "Oh, yeah." "Why don't you let go?" And of course, when Homer lets go, his arms come out of the machines, and he is saved from having to have his arms cut off. It's funny, it's exaggerated, but I think it speaks well to our condition. It speaks well to our condition. How do you catch a human being? Well, if it's Homer, you just need a vending machine. If it's us, you get them to grasp on the ideas of forms and things and identities. You get us to grasp to the ideas of forms and things and identities. Identities made up of mental formations. Now you've got them. Or maybe now you've got yourself. And so we get caught by the things we grab hold of, the things we call real. We get caught by images of our bodies, by identities. Hi, I'm a minister. That's my identity, right? We get caught by the things that we think we can and we can't do. We're trapped by mental formations that are simply thoughts in our minds. How do you get free of it? Well, if you're a monkey, you just let go of the nut in the box. If you're Homer, you let go of the can in the vending machine. If it's us, we begin to notice our perceptions and our thoughts, the thoughts about ourselves and the thoughts about others, and we begin to let go of them. Let go of them. Remember what I started off talking about Adam? I said God created all the things, and whatever Adam, all the creatures, and whatever Adam said they were, that's what they were going to be for him. Well, ditto for us. And if we mistakenly call a helpful thing either difficult or fearful or whatever, well, that's what that's going to seem like to us, even if it's helpful or necessary. Likewise, if we call a harmful or unhelpful thing necessary, that's what it's going to seem like to us. And we're going to continue holding on to it, regardless of the effect it has on our body, on our life, on our mind. Spiritual teachings, as I understand them, are always about learning to notice the various thoughts, the various mental formations we find in our minds, and not to mistake them for reality. Not to mistake them for reality. Not to mistake them for who or what we think we are. The basic goal of Buddhism, if there is a goal in Buddhism, I think there actually is to begin peeling away those layers of mental formations, releasing what we are not, until all that's left is what we are. The unconditioned mind, what Unity would call the Christ mind, the natural state of us. One Eastern exercise that's often suggested for doing that is called neti neti, neti neti, which means in Sanskrit, not that, not that. And it begins by just quietly going and meditating or sitting and considering, who we think we are. Am I my shirt? Well, if I took my shirt away, would I still be here? Yes, I would. So netty, it's not that. Am I these glasses? Well, if somebody took my glasses away, would I go away? No, I'd still be here. Oh, I'm not my glasses. Netty, not that. I'm a retired person. If somebody took away my retired person identity, would I go away? No, I'd still be here. Not that, not that. How about my name? If somehow my name left me, would I be gone? No, not that, not that. I'd still be here. And we just go through the process of noticing the things we identify with, but that are not me. Not me, not me. And then we can ask the question, well, what more? What more? Now, peeling away the layers is a great way to get to the truth. Unfortunately, hearing me today talk about that is not going to help you at all, unless you do that fifth step in the unity principles of applying action and really doing the exercise yourself a few times. Noticing the things that you think are important to you or significant parts, and noticing that not that either, not that either. It has to be practiced and experienced. One point, A Course in Miracles says a universal theology is not possible, but a universal experience is not only possible, but necessary. It's the experience of actual reality. We see the same thing showing up in the Jesus teachings in the Gospel of Matthew. At one point, Jesus asks his followers, who do the people say that I am? Actually, it's who do the people say this human being, this son of a man is? Well, like the people that encountered the Buddha on the road, they began giving him different answers. The answers that show up in the Bible are, well, some of them say you're John the Baptist come back. Some say you're the reincarnation of Elijah. Or maybe one Jeremiah or one of the other prophets come back. That's the answers Jesus gets, according to Matthew. Jesus then repeats the question, making it a little more specific. Who do you say I am? And that's when Peter makes the famous statement, you are Messiah, you are blessed or anointed, the son or the child of the living God. To which Jesus replies something similar to, good work, Peter. Flesh and blood, human thoughts and perceptions, mental formations didn't reveal that to you. It was my Father in heaven, divine unconditioned mind. If you look at that, you really couldn't get a lot more Zen if you took Jesus and his disciples and dumped them in the middle of Tokyo, So my invitation this week is for each of us to begin to notice who we are thinking or saying we are, or even more importantly, what we are thinking or saying we are. I'll mention at this point that there is a little book that is not widely available, but available through Unity by a Unity author, Amalda Octavia Shanklin. How's that for a name to carry around? Amalda Octavia Shanklin. The book, published in 1929 by Unity, is called What Are You? I have several minister friends who use it and love it dearly. What are you? So we might want to begin noticing what we say we are. And whatever it is, just please know it's something more. It's something more. But rather than trying to come up with the answer to what are you, just sit with the question, what am I thinking I am? What am I thinking I am? Do a little netty around that. Notice it's not really that. It's not really that. And then just take a little time with that and rest in the silence. Because since what we actually are, by definition, has to be present here, right? What you actually are has to be present because you're there. All the other stuff heaped up around it is just stuff heaped up around it. But what you actually are is there, underneath all those piles of mental formations and perceptions and thoughts and stuff. So if you don't try to answer the question of what am I in human terms, and you're willing to spend a little time with it, I believe that glimpses, even large awarenesses of what you are, can begin to show up and reveal itself naturally, because it's there. It's there. That's our opportunity today, any day, to get past the costumes, past the masks, past the piles or aggregations, as our Buddhist friends would say, of mental formations and thoughts, and to actually connect with the awareness, the direct awareness, not a perception, but the direct awareness of what we are. What we are not just in this life, not in some specific past life when we were either a pauper or a king, but what we are, always. So as usual, I normally give you a little affirmation. Today, I simply will offer the thought of asking ourselves, if I am not what I appear to be, what is it that I am? Right? Just look at that and be with that for a moment. If I am not what I appear to be, what is it that I am? Say that with me. If I am not what I appear to be, what is it that I am? Now close your eyes and just be with that in the quiet. Breathe into that question. What is it that I am? Don't answer it yourself. What is it that I am? One more time asking, what is it that I am? If I'm not what I appear to be, what is it that I am? All right, back to me. Back to what I appear to be being, not what I am. You have now officially filed the request to know the answer to that question. You have sent it to the universe. The universe will be busy helping you find the answer to what's under that pile of perceptions and mental formations that you've been identifying with. That's the process. That's the process of peeling away and allowing something beyond our not so conscious human consciousness to begin showing us the reality, the deeper reality of who and what we are. And that's my sharing with you for today. That's my sharing. Remember to be careful now, like old Adam. Be careful what you call things. What you call them, that's what they're going to seem like to you. May not be what they are. That's what they're going to seem like. So be aware of that and keep asking. Ask what the other things are. It is the asking and the curiosity, I think, that opens our minds and our hearts to allow some new answer in. And of course, new answers are often the answers that heal the old, very limited thoughts that have been holding us prisoner. So, well, from there, I'm going to take us to our time of offering. And as I do that, let's see. Yes. I'll remind you that you can mail tithes and offerings to Unity of Charlotte at 401 East Arrowwood Road, 28217. Or you can do like many of us do and simply go to unityofcharlotte.org on your phone or tablet and make an offering directly online. A nice way to do that, since since that also gets you an immediate acknowledgement of your offering. You know it's gone there and you know it's been received. And of course, Unity of Charlotte exists because of tithes, offerings, and committed giving from people who want to see this center continue and grow and thrive. So with that awareness and with that thought of desiring to see Unity of Charlotte continue to grow and thrive and teach and share, let's share our prosperity blessing. Together we say, joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. Amen. All right. Well, we are going to close here in just a moment with our prayer of protection. But first, I'm going to just remind the folks again that we are having a book club discussion today. We'll be discussing John Belsham's books about when prayers aren't answered. The subtitle, When Prayers Aren't Answered the Way We Want Them to Be. Lots of wonderful stories about answers and unanswers and our opportunity. And since I just lost my series of slides through a very clever little click, I'm going to just invite us to say our prayer of protection together without the slide. And so together we say, the light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And so it is. Again, thank you for being here with us today at Unity, and we hope to see you next week, and the week after, and the week after, and the week after that. And I think at this point, we'll call this service completed